Hi, fifth grade. Really quickly, I wanted to give you a summary of what we talked about today so that if you do have any questions, if you're still a little confused, go ahead and watch this. I know a lot of you had to walk out of class in order to go to some services that you receive here in class during the day, so you might have missed out as well, okay? Please pay attention. I'm trying to make sure that we're all on the same page tomorrow morning so that we can get started with that lesson. This is day 1 of 4. Today's lesson objective was to predict the effects of changes in ecosystem caused by living organisms such as the overpopulation of grazers. So what does that mean? We said we are making very educated guesses in order to figure out what or how a living organism is affected by a change in their habitat. So wherever they live, something happens and now bam, there is something that is completely going to change for them. They're being affected by that change. One thing that we didn't touch up on is the overpopulation of grazers. We will talk more about that tomorrow, but that also has to do with a organism being affected in a way. Let me go to the next slide. All right, you had all these vocab words. I want you to focus on these two. I apologize that it says 1, 1. It should have said 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to focus on actually knowing what these two are: invasive species and native species. We played the musical chairs. Every student had a card and they had an animal on it. And on that card, every time the music was playing, that meant that everything was going perfectly fine in your world, in your habitat, in your environment. Once that music stopped, something was happening to affect that specific living organism. So we noticed how each person had to tell me a situation. For example, somebody had a bear and they said, well, the rock, which was my cave, broke because of an earthquake. So that was a situation that happened that affected a living organism in that specific environment. So every student had to give me a reason of why they were basically kicked out of their habitat. So that's how we started the day. Next, I read this page for you, and we learned about red tides. We answered these 2 questions in your notebook. If you didn't get to do it, make sure you get your science book, page 508. Then we also went here and made sure that we understood these three bullet points here. The first one being that, yes, we know that also that natural causes such as that earthquake happening and just getting rid of that bear's habitat can occur, but there's also other things that humans can do, or man-made events that can cause changes to environments, such as Tristan brought this up. He said deforestation. You don't have to know that word just yet, but deforestation basically means the cutting down of trees, right? You go in a forest, you start cutting down. Maybe you need the wood for a fireplace to sell, for fire in a fireplace, or maybe you need it because you're going to be building homes. So there's changes that are naturally caused in man-made events, and they do affect environments. Next, you need to know that when these changes happen in an ecosystem, we have what we call MAD. That means migrate. Animals will have to migrate, adapt, or die. Migrate, the key word is move. That means if that bear's habitat is now gone, it needs to move and go find another home. Or it also has the option to adapt. He can stay, but he's going to have to find something else where he's going to make it his new home. He's going to adapt to the new environment. Maybe not a rock. Maybe he can live inside a hollow tree. Or if he doesn't do either of those, he will die. So we need to memorize the word MAD in science. Will stand for migrate, which means move, adapt, which means you stay, but you get used to the environment, or you try to blend in, or you're going to have to die. And then events that cause changes to the environment can be either helpful or harmful. Again, going back to that situation with deforestation or when you cut down trees, hey, it's bad because we are getting rid of those trees where, birds build their nest. But at the same time, we're getting rid of those trees because men need homes and we're building new homes. So think of those things. I want you to think of the positive and the negative. So watch this video, ask me any questions in the morning. You're going to have to complete ReadWorks. I gave you a Pythons invade the Florida Everglades story so that you understand a little bit more about invasive species. Remember, it is one of our vocab words. Put everything together so that it makes sense. And please don't hesitate to ask me any questions.